I'm Mike Reagan, Kosciuszko County Republican Chairman, and we are delighted to have our guest here today, and our state representative from this district, David Wilkins, is going to do our introduction.
Do I have to stand on the chair?
It's up to you.
I'm not standing.
Kind of a short one.
Thank you for all coming today. I want to introduce actually three people. One of them, actually I've known all of them for many, many, many years. You know, I've been in the General Assembly for 28 years, and Rex Early has been involved, and Tony's been involved in the General Assembly, and Gene's been involved in local politics right here for many, many, many years. Rex Early, former state chairman, he's been involved in every major decision upset that's happened in the state of Indiana. That guy is a winner. He's a great guy to talk to. He's got great saying. My favorite is, it's a pretty thin pancake that only has one side. He's got lots more, but he was, as I said, he was former state chair. He ran for governor, took out several of the long-standing members of the Indiana General Assembly at different times. So that's Rex. Tony Samuels, worked with the House staff many, many years. He was head of all the media and everything. He's the vice chair of the Trump campaign. Worked with him for a long time. Excellent gentleman. Another winner when it comes to politics. Of course, we all know Gene Norther.
Careful.
I'm on your side tonight.
Oh, good.
Gene Norther has been involved in politics right here for many years. She knows everybody involved in state politics, and we're happy to have all three of them tonight. Who's going to go first? Rex?
Well, I can. First of all, I was needed to say Gene is one of my best buddies too, and we had a lot of good times, and we always were on the same side.
Yes, we have been.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Gene told me that she had to do an obituary or
Eulogy.
a eulogy to somebody, and how she didn't like to do that. And I pointed out I did one not too long ago for one guy that he had no friend, no enemy, absolutely a person with no enemy. Everybody loved the guy. Never saw anything like it. He was just, and when I ran for governor, 228,312 people didn't like me. Gene thought that was funny.
I thought it was funny that he remembered that exact number.
Well, I made that up.
Oh, did you?
But anyway, thank you for being here. All of us obviously are on the Trump wagon. Tony and I got on real early. A lot of people sort of scoffed at us and thought we were wasting our time. But Donald Trump, I think that this, I love the guy. We've gotten to know him. He got 600,000 votes in the primary, thanks to people here and all through Indiana. And I'll tell you, he loves Indiana. And now with Mike Pence going to be the vice president, it's nice to have a president and a vice president, believe me, in Washington, D.C. And I think Trump is, I think he's the guy. He's for more security. He's everything. The wall that he wants to build, everything that he stood up for when he was among that group of 17. I thought, well, that's how I feel. And I think he's the guy who can do it. I do know that he recognizes that Indiana was the state that really put him over the top. And if you remember, Cruz and Kasich both quit that night after the primary that night on election night. So it's been a good ride here. I don't have to tell you that I'd be kidding you if I didn't tell you Trump is going to win Indiana pretty easy. And we've got one of the good polls the other day said he was up 25 points. But the point is, we can't back off now, because we got to elect the United States Senator, and we got to elect our governor. And I think that having Trump on the ticket is going a long way to help both of them be elected. I certainly hope so. But we've been going all over the state of Indiana. I think Tony will tell you a little more of the details, but it's really a movement. It's not a political thing. It's a movement, and you can feel it. And people out there, they're scared. They're worried. I've got 8 grandchildren, and the only reason probably that I'm doing this is I want our country to go back like when we were young. And it's scary out there right now. And so I drew the long straw or the short straw, and I'm the chairman. But the guy that's doing most work is my buddy Tony, and I'm going to turn the gavel over to you right now.
Thanks. I just do whatever Rex tells me to do.
That's the way it's
and try to
always
stay in line,
been.
and
Yeah.
Gene knows that. Gene, before I sometimes I talk too long. Do you want to say a few words, or do you want to wait?
Oh, excuse me. The only thing I can say, this man has been a friend of mine. We've worked together to elect people, and if I remember right, we've always also worked to beat a few.
That's right. We've always been on the right side.
Yeah,
Sometimes
one
other
way or
people
the other, yeah.
they didn't know that.
Well, and they
Shame on
they
them.
didn't measure up to what we thought ought to be, so we'd work against them. But he's always been a winner. So I was just delighted when I found out that he was going to be on Trump's campaign, because Lord knows Trump needs help. Now, let's don't fake it. It may be okay in Indiana, but the rest of the world doesn't know Indiana like we do. So stick with it, with your friends and your neighbors and your family. We need everybody to vote, to get out to vote. So Trump's our guy, even though, as I said to Rex just a little bit ago, sometimes I wish he would just shut up.
You're the first person that ever said that.
I bet. You know, he gets going so good, and then he goes off on a tangent. And I just, but obviously, he's not going to pay attention to me.
He's getting better.
Is he? Well, good, good.
He is.
Thank you.
With that, I'll try to.
Try to make better of that, right?
No, that was good. Thank you. And I'll just say this about Rex too. It's one of the most fun things I've done in my. It's going to be 25 years that I got involved in 1992, and Rex was the state chairman at that time, but he probably thought I was just a silly little kid trying to get involved in politics, and I was. But I was able to work with some really good people. Dean Evans, who was running for governor in '92, and then Steve Booyer, who became a congressman. I got to be on his first challenger campaign in 1992. We took out a 3-term incumbent, and Rex came into the district and traveled the district like we are now. Actually, that's one of the reasons we came up with this idea. Rex had done it before, and I've helped other candidates, and was able to work for House Republicans, and got to know Dave there. And Dave does a fantastic job for everybody here in this room in the General Assembly. I was able to work with Dave from late '01 to late '07 as the communications director for Speaker Bosma, and Dave's very well respected and does a great job for you guys. Then I also got to work for Mitch for a little bit, and then started my own governmental affairs business, and was always interested, well, in politics in general, but became interested in Trump, and had followed him, and just kind of got a kick out of his personality. But when he started talking about running for president, everything he said made sense, and so I jumped on board early like Rex is. And our theme for our Indiana campaign is early for Trump, because we've got a great leader in Rex Early, and who jumped on board early. And then, like Rex was saying, we were able to end the nomination process early on May 3rd with your help. So part of what we are out traveling the state doing is thanking folks like you, everyone in this room, everyone in this county and district. This area was sort of tough for Trump, and it was the third and fourth districts were the ones that were going to be the least likely to win. But our goal was to win all 57 delegates in all 9 districts, and we did. We didn't know that it would end that night, but it did. And if it hadn't, and Rick says this a lot, who knows what would have happened if it went to the national convention. So thank you for doing that. And again, we ended that nomination process early. We started our ground game early. We started our coalition building early. And now we have an internal campaign goal to be the earliest state on the board for Trump and Pence on election night. And so that's the theme. We started, we wanted to do everything we needed. As Rex said, we're going to win Indiana. We're going to win it big. But we don't want to take any chances. Initially, we were saying we don't want the Democrats to think there's any way they can come in to this state and make a play for it. I think they realize they can't, but we need to get as many votes out and on the board so that we can help Todd Young and help Eric Holcomb and help the local candidates. And that's our goal. Nationally, I get to work with the national communications folks and the political folks, so I get to be on phone calls with them. Some I just get to listen so I know what they're doing, and then we try to implement some of what they're doing in the state. But it's very structured. It's become a very policy-oriented campaign. They've been on message a lot better than you saw in the primary, and he was great in the primary. But it was more, the way I've always viewed it, it was Trump carrying things on his shoulder. Now he's on his shoulders. Now he's got a great team, and you've seen him talk about his immigration plan in a comprehensive way. You've seen him over the last few weeks talk about child care, talk about jobs in the economy, talking about how he's going to fight terrorism and fight ISIS, all in very comprehensive plans. That first debate the other night, you saw the first half of it. He was talking about bringing back jobs, renegotiating NAFTA, stopping TPP, all kinds of issues, job related, and growing our economy. And he's doing that. He's talking about issues folks were critical of him initially, where saying that he didn't have the details. Well, he does. And she then, second half of the debate, tried to drag it down into the gutter, and maybe was successful at doing so. But he's a street fighter, and he's going to fight back. And that's why, he's got so much support, I think. And it comes at a time where I think the support is there because we're looking for a strong leader. With everything that's going on in the world right now, with terrorism knocking on our doorsteps, and with the economy in the state that it's in, with Hillary Clinton scandals and corruption, on and on with her. You talk about that for 2 hours. That's why I think folks are supporting Trump. Why you folks and why I am. I've got kids. I don't want them to grow up in a world where this is the norm. What we're seeing with terrorism and what we're seeing with with the economy and the drive towards socialism. So that's what is happening on the national stage. I think he's going to do well, be strong in these next 2 debates. The polls are moving in his direction. With these policy positions that have been coming out in a more comprehensive fashion, that's when the numbers started to change. If you remember, after the conventions, she got a bump, and she was up in some polls in the battleground states and in the nationwide polls 6-7 points. Well, that's all changed. He's been up 4 or 5 points in Florida, in Colorado, in Ohio, even in Pennsylvania. So the tide has turned, and it's going to continue to. But again, you need everybody's help to tell your friends. Obviously, you guys are here for the same reason, and you're going to support Trump and Pence. But tell your neighbors, your relatives across the state, and get everyone to come out and vote early. Also, Early voting starts here October 12th. That was the other early that I wanted to mention. So encourage people, and it might be better to do that because the lines are going to be long on election day. Lisa Oliver is here from our campaign, and Kristen Williams is here from the state GOP. Jeff Cardwell, our state chairman, has been joining us as much as he can. This is our 5th trip around the state. This is our 16th county, and we usually do 3 to 4 counties per day and 1 trip per week, but now we're going to start doing 2 trips per week, and just seeing a lot of enthusiasm everywhere we go, like this, and folks, looking for those yard signs. We hear there's a black market for yard signs because people are stealing them and selling them for $25. It's kind of nuts out there, but it's a good sign as well. Just a lot of enthusiasm, and thank you for all of yours and all of your help. Lisa was going to talk a little bit about early voting here in Kosciuszko County if she doesn't fall off the chair.
Hi. Early voting, as Tony said, starts October 12th, which is next Wednesday. And you can vote any weekday up until the election. The polls close at noon, the day before the election, which is November 7th. And you can vote in Warsaw at the Kosciuszko County Judicial Center. That'll be open, like I said, every weekday. And the last Saturday before the election, that's November 5th. They'll be open, I believe, from 8 a.m. until noon. You can vote there. And all you need is your regular ID, just as if you were going to the polls on election day. The other thing, we're going to talk about the coalitions.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a lot of Trump-Pence coalitions for veterans, for coal miners, for women, for all kinds, and Lisa has information if you'd like to sign up or volunteer by our phone banks, or if here you can walk for us or with the county GOP, or do phone banks from here on your cell phone. Go ahead.
Just one other thing about early voting. I don't know if you or somebody, an elderly parent or somebody, has an absentee ballot. The ballot has to be in your county clerk's office by midnight on October 31st. So there's a shorter deadline for that. You want to make sure your vote gets counted. And it can't be postmarked the 31st. It has to be delivered by the 31st. Thank you.
2 other quick things. Speaking of volunteers, Jim Miller, he comes down to our office. I pulled up, I said, he looks really familiar. And it's because he's down at our office in Carmel. Yeah. But thank you all for what you're doing. We have also, one day I walked into our office and we had a stack this high and then another stack like this high, because they didn't all fit in the first stack, of 500 4x8 Trump-Pence signs like that one against the wall. We've probably got 100 or less left, so if anybody wants one, if you have a place that you can put one up, see Lisa as well. And then are there any other candidates or office holders here that would like to speak, or anybody else?
I'll make a couple comments. Hey, before I came over, I made a list. All of us, Gene mentioned, a lot of times we get frustrated at the messenger, and Donald, he opens his mouth, gets in trouble, and so forth. And the way I started answering it is people, and I made a list of the actual issues, my notes, whether it be immigration, homeland security, Supreme Court nominees, pro-life, supporting the military, supporting our gun rights, lowering taxes, fewer regulations, respect for law enforcement, and his energy. All of us agree with that. Those are what we believe. Forget the messenger for a minute. Think of the message. And all of us have people say we're not going to vote for him, they're good Republicans and so forth. Tell them that, because we know what the other messenger, she opposes every one of those. And so we've got to get out and get as many as we can on board. Just hold your nose and get out there, and he's going to be a good president, and we need to support him all the way. I was reluctant to get it at the beginning, but when I saw what he was saying, I'd say 95% of the issues we agree with. There may be a couple out there that we don't, but that's a whole lot better than the other side, because we disagree with just about all of her issues. So get out there and work hard, and he is going to win Indiana, but we need for him to win Indiana big, and that will help the other candidates as well.
Dave, speak about the Supreme Court. I haven't heard anybody talking about what would happen if Hillary gets in to that Supreme Court.
That's scary. That is
It is
absolutely
downright
scary.
scary.
She will have an aggressive, proactive Supreme Court that will not interpret the laws, they will make the laws. And we will lose all sorts of rights if she gets them. So that's one of the biggest reasons why we need to go ahead and support Donald Trump.
Yeah.
We'll have a socialist government if she gets in too.
Also, Kyle Babcock. Kyle, do you want to say anything?
Well, Tony, just the biggest thing is thanks to you and Rex for traveling around the state, because in 2012 we had Mitt, we couldn't get anything in Indiana. In 2008 we had McCain, couldn't do anything in Indiana. And props to you guys, Rex and Tony, for doing this, because this is very unique that actually people care on the Republican ticket for president, because sometimes our votes are sometimes taken for granted. So, you know, let's give these guys a big round of applause. I was a delegate to the National Convention this summer for the 3rd District, and we were there. There was a pageantry. It was incredible, the energy for Donald Trump. And look, I came to the party late, very late for Trump, but he's our guy, and he is our candidate right now for governor, and especially what Gene said, the Supreme Court, everything Dave said. We're all in agreement that our choice is so much better than their choice.
Right.
And so let's all get together, let's get out and vote. Todd Young, Eric Holcomb, Donald Trump, and let's do it on election day.
The other three, Bushes and Obama and Clinton are the establishment. And they wanted to be citizens of the world, and Obama wants to be head of the UN. So you think about it. We won't be citizens of the United States anymore. We'll be citizens of the world. They're taking our rights away from us. Me and my husband and others listen to Christian radio. All the stations talked against Hillary. She's for gays and abortion and everything bad.
It's sort of like preaching to the choir in here. But what we can do, all of us can do, we know people that we can talk to. We know people that might not vote. We know people, maybe their child's away in college, and but those are the things that all of us can do. And obviously, I know where the votes are going to be out of this gathering, but we need all of you. If you came down this time to be here, then you're just like me and Tony and all the rest of us. You're afraid of what could happen. So if you, the thing we can do is find people that aren't going to vote for him and turn them around, or lock them up for the day or something.
Now that might be illegal.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you all for coming. We have plenty of Trump shirts and materials and things like that. And we also brought some pizza for anybody to share. And you can visit with Rex and Gene and Tony while they're here.
And David, of course.
And David, of course, David. And we thank you so much for coming by. And like I said, help yourself to some pizza and visit with the people that.
Yeah, and we'll take questions either now or one-on-one anyway.
Yeah, whenever you want.
This is for everybody. We had Trump signs, and we've had them ever since he thought about running. And if you leave them on your lawn, they'll steal them. So you just take them in nights. You know, we had the cops and everything. There's nothing they can do. They got enough to do. So if you have a Trump sign, just take it in nights, because it won't be there the next day.
I've heard a lot of that kind of thing going on. The other thing they'll do, and I fixed mine so they can't do it, they'll take the Trump off of the metal. So I stapled mine across the bottom. So if they take it, they gotta take metal and all. They can't just take these signs.
We had a fellow that took one of the 4x8 signs and had it in his front yard, and they cut it away and left the post.
Yeah, we're hearing these kinds of stories across the state.
The guy up the way put one on his manure spreader, so we'll see.
Didn't I hear a lot about it?
Yeah, Kim Tom had,
Yeah.
north of Warsaw.